Good morning and welcome to day 62 of Bible in a Year as we go exploring through the Bible in 365 days. We're going to be going through the New International Version and we'll be following the adventure timeline. We're this time in Desert Wanderings and we are on day 62. My name is Pastor Jay Lutz, and we are going to be talking today about Numbers, chapter 12 to 13, Deuteronomy, chapter 11, and Psalm 94. Now, Numbers, chapters 12 to 13, Moses' siblings, Miriam and Aaron, speak out against Moses' Cushite wife. In response, God condemns them, resulting in Miriam enduring leprosy for 7 days. Chapter 13, the Lord commands Moses to send out spies to explore the land of Canaan. 12 end up exploring the land, and then they come back with their report. Deuteronomy 11, the Lord instructs Moses and the people how they must love and obey their Lord, their God. And lastly, Psalm 94 is a royal psalm, a psalm of praise before God. A little bit of wisdom too. Anyways, let's get started. Numbers chapter 12. Now Miriam and Aaron began to talk about Moses because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? They asked. Hasn't he also spoken through us? And the Lord heard this. Now Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. At once the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, come out to the tent of meeting, all three of you. So the three of them came out. Then the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud. He stood at the entrance to the tent and summoned Aaron and Miriam. When both of them stepped forward, he said, listen to my words. When a prophet of the Lord is among you, I reveal myself to him in visions. I speak to him in dreams. But this is not true of my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly and not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? The anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them. When the cloud lifted from above the tent, there stood Miriam, leprous, like snow. Aaron turned towards her and saw that she had leprosy. And he said to Moses, please, my Lord, do not hold us against the sin we have so foolishly committed. Do not let her be like stillborn infant coming from its mother's womb with its flesh half-eaten away. So Moses cried out to the Lord, O God, please heal her. The Lord replied to Moses, if her father had spit in her face, would she not have been in disgrace for 7 days? Confine her outside the camp for 7 days, and after that she can be brought back in. So Miriam was confined outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until she was brought back. After that the people left Hazeroth and encamped in the desert of Paran. Chapter 13. The Lord said to Moses, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral land, send one of its leaders. So at the Lord's command, Moses sent out from the desert of Paran. All of them were leaders of the Israelites. These are their names. From the tribe of Reuben, Shemua, son of Zachar. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb, son of Zephaniah. From the tribe of Issachar, Igal, son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Pelti, son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, son of Sodi. From the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Joseph, Gadi, son of Susi. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel, son of Gamaliel. From the tribe of Asher, Sether, son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, son of Zophsi. From the tribe of Gad, Guel, son of Maki. These are the names of the men Moses sent to explore the land. Moses gave Hoshea, son of Nun, the name Joshua. When Moses sent them to explore Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and on into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees on it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit from the land." It was the season for the first ripe grapes. So they went up and explored the land from the desert of Zin as far as Rehob, towards Lebo Hamath. They went up through the Negev and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, lived. Hebron had been built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. When they reached the valley of Eshcol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried it on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the valley of Eshcol, because of the cluster of grapes the Israelites cut off there. At the end of 40 days they returned from exploring the land. And they came back to Moses and Aaron, the whole Israelite community, at Kadesh, in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly, and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites lived in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites lived in the hill country. And the Canaanites lived near the sea, along the Jordan." Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, "The land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there were of great size. We saw the Nephilim. There the descendants of Anak came from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." There ends our first reading. Our second reading is from Deuteronomy chapter 11. "Love the Lord your God and keep his requirements, his decrees, his laws, and his commands always. Remember today that your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God, his majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arms, the signs he performed and the things he did in the heart of Egypt, both to Pharaoh king of Egypt and to his whole country. What he did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and chariots, how he overwhelmed them with the waters of the Red Sea, as they were pursuing you, and how the Lord brought lasting ruin on them. It was not your children who saw what he did for you in the desert until you arrived at this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, son of Eliab the Reubenite, when the earth opened its mouth right in the middle of all Israel and swallowed them up with their households, their tents, and everything living that belonged to them. But it was your own eyes that saw all these great things the Lord has done. Observe, therefore, all the commands I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and take over the land that you are crossing, the Jordan, to possess, and so that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to your forefathers, to give to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey, The land you are entering to take over is not like the land of Egypt, from which you come, where you planted your seed and irrigated it by foot, as in a vegetable garden. But the land you are crossing the Jordan to take possession of is a land of mountains and valleys that drinks rain from heaven. It is a land the Lord your God cares for. The eye of the Lord your God are continually on it from the beginning of the year till its end. So if you faithfully observe the commands I am giving you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I will send rain on your land in its season, both autumn and spring rain, so that you may gather in your grain, new wine and oil. I will provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you'll eat and be satisfied. Be careful, or you will be enticed to turn away and worship other gods, and bow down to them. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will shut the heavens, so that it will not rain, and the ground will yield no produce. And you will soon perish from the good land the Lord is giving you. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, talking about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land that the Lord swore to your forefathers, as many of the days that the heavens are above the earth. If you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to hold fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all those nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you. Every place where you set your foot will be yours. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the Euphrates River to the western sea. No man will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God has promised you will put the terror, the fear of the Lord on the whole land wherever you go. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God, and turn from the ways that I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim on the Mount Gerizim the blessings, and on Mount Ebal the curses. As you know, these mountains are across the Jordan, west of the road, towards the setting sun near the great trees of Moreh, in the territory of those Canaanites living in Arabah, in the vicinity of Gilgal. You are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. When you have taken over and you are living there, be sure that you obey all the decrees and laws I am setting before you today. Here ends chapter 11. Our last reading is Psalm 94. O Lord, the God who avenges, O God who avenges, shine forth. Rise up, O Judge of the earth. Pay back to the proud what they deserve. How long will the wicked, O Lord, how long will the wicked be jubilant? They pour out arrogant words. All the evildoers are full of boasting. They crush your people, O Lord. They oppress your inheritance. They slay the widow and the alien. They murder the fatherless. They say the Lord does not see. The God of Jacob pays no heed. Take heed, you senseless ones among the people. You fools, when will you become wise? Does he who imparts the ear not hear? Does he who formed the eye not see? Does he who disciplines nations not punish? Does he who teaches man lack knowledge? The Lord knows the thoughts of man. He knows that they are futile. Blessed is the man blessed is the man you discipline, O Lord, the man you teach from your law. You grant him relief from the days of trouble, till a pit is dug for the wicked. For the Lord will not reject his people. He will never forsake his inheritance. Judgment will again be founded on righteousness, and all the upright in heart will follow it. Who will rise up from me against the wicked? Who will take a stand for me against evildoers? Unless the Lord has given me help, I would soon have dwelt in the silence of death. When I said, my foot is slipping, your love, O Lord, supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. Can a corrupt throne be allied with you, one that brings on misery by its decrees? They band together against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become my fortress, my God, the rock in whom I take refuge. He will repay them for their sins and destroy them from their wickedness. The Lord our God will destroy them. Here ends our reading. Well, this is a royal psalm, many times spoken during royal events. And yes, blessed, it says, is the man you discipline. God disciplines those in which God loves. And he does not allow for corruptness or misery to be upon his throne. He condemns the wicked, lifts up the innocent. This is the good God that we have. Next we hear about Deuteronomy, about how they are to love and obey God. He talks about the great wonders that happened to the people in the midst of Egypt, and how he takes them into the land flowing with milk and honey, but how their descendants were not the ones that are going into Canaan at this point in time. They did not see all these great and mighty works, but their parents. But he says, still hold on to those things, those stories that you've heard about this great and awesome and mighty God, and he'll take you safely into the land of Canaan, so you can shout his praises from all the mountaintops. And then lastly, we hear of the Miriam and Aaron opposing Moses and his Cushite wife. Remember, Cush is the land that would have been Ethiopia and Sudan, and then across the river, places like modern-day United Arab Emirates. So there's a very large span. Would have been African and Middle Eastern people. So who knows? The one description we get of the Cushites is that they're dark, black as the night. And so who knows? Maybe this is a time where we see racism. It's hard to say, but that could have been one of the reasons that they were of a different color, a darker skin. Here we also see the explorers going into Canaan, the 12 of the tribes of Israel. And what do we see? Well, we see that part of them gives a good report and part of them does not. Who gives a good report, though, that we hear from, whose name is changed? It's always interesting when we see a name change, because oftentimes in the Bible, when we see a name change, it's usually God bringing... there's a transition in that person's life and God renaming them because of that transition. And who's the name that's transitioned here? Moses gave Hoshea, son of Nun, the name Joshua. So this is Joshua, who will later be the leader. And he, it says in this account, says to them, gives a good account, as does Caleb. And Caleb says to them, we should go up and take possession of land, for we can certainly do it. So we see both Caleb and Joshua giving good accounts. And who then will lead them into the promised land later? Joshua and Caleb. So God exalts those who are act in righteousness. And the reason they act in righteousness is because not that they see that these men were huge and could crush them. It's because they knew who went before them. Joshua and Caleb knew God went before them, so it didn't matter how big and huge and mighty and domineering they could have been, because they know that they have God on their side. And may we always remember that we have God on our side. So no matter how big our enemies are, or how powerful and mighty they might be, that we have a God, a great God, who fights on our behalf and who exalts and defends and defeats those in front of us. May you ever follow and walk in God's ways to his glory. Have a wonderful day.